Howdy folks, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another beautiful day here in the Great White Frozen North. We got the old Scout here. This thing I think has actually been sitting right here since September, sometime in September. I've done a ton of work and upgrades to this thing, all on the drivetrain. Obviously, it looks exactly the same as the last time this thing has been on the channel. And I do believe it's been a good little while since the Scout here has been on the channel. So today, I'm going to walk you guys through some of the stuff that I've changed and some of the upgrades that I've done. And, well, obviously, we're going to get her out in the snow, do some snow wheeling. For those of you that are just here to watch this thing rip through the snow or get broken in the snow, I don't know what's going to happen yet, obviously. I'll put a timestamp here. You can go ahead and skip ahead. Those of you guys that want to see all the work that's been done, obviously, keep watching. First things first, though, we got the plug in here. We're going to go ahead and plug this thing in. Let me see if I can open the hood one-handed. Oh, yeah. It's always a challenge with my vehicles as to whether or not I can open the hood one-handed. Obviously, this thing's been sitting here for a little while. It's always leaked coolant out of the intake, and that appears to have not changed. We got the plug right there. I'm going to set the phone down real quick and get this thing plugged in. There we go. I don't have my cord routed in any special way. This thing doesn't get cold started enough in the winter for me to really justify doing anything like that. The winterization on this thing, I think I did a video on it some time ago, is just that coolant circulation tank down there. And you can hear that thing going to town already. Hopefully it's got some coolant to heat up. Check out that sassy, new old stock lever vent cap. How cool is that? Oh yeah, she still got coolant in her. So we'll let that thing go to town on this old girl for a little while, warm the engine up, and then we'll obviously fire it up and get it outside. But let me yak at you guys a little bit about some of the upgrades that have been done to the old Scout. Like I said, absolutely nothing cosmetic has been changed, but quite a bit on the drivetrain has been changed. Starting right here, this is the initial thing that I wanted to change. Not the Wheelin tire, of course, but the rear axle. So I went ahead and swapped out the rear axle in this thing, primarily because the old rear axle was a Dana 27 that was absolutely worn out. I don't know if I ever really talked about it on the channel, but the old Dana 27 was so worn out that the cross pin in the carrier, in the differential, you could see it wiggle in the carrier, which is super bad, so I was just waiting for that to explode. The brakes on that old Dana 27 never really worked, among a few other things. So I ended up with a 67 Scout 800 chassis that I robbed this Dana 44 out from under. I was fortunate enough that the newer chassis had 427 gears as well, and this rear end has a limited slip. So what we've gained here are bigger brakes that are functional, a limited slip, a bigger, stronger axle, and everything bolted right into my Scout here, which is perfect. While I was doing that, I ended up having to put new polyurethane bushings in the leaf springs here. It just, when I was taking it apart, I could see the old bushings were so worn out, they needed to be replaced. So we've got new polyurethane bushings. The front drive shaft is the same. I had to use the rear drive shaft out of the Scout 800 chassis. This rear end, if you guys didn't know, is the rear end out of the frame that the Skonko is on now. If you guys have seen that video, that's where this axle came from. And the other big change, you guys are going to make me actually wheel under this thing. Let's see if I can get you guys a good look at her. Well, if you can see it there, up in there is a Dana 20 transfer case. This old Scout had a Dana 18 transfer case under there, and I prefer the Dana 18 for the shift pattern and the gear ratios and stuff, and they're, in my opinion, a cooler, simpler transfer case. The reason why I went with the Dana 20 there is because it works, and it doesn't leak. I don't know how it doesn't leak, but it doesn't, and that's the main reason why I put it in here. I did need to pick up an adapter off of Novak Conversions, that converts so I could put the Dana 20 on the back of the original T90 3-speed transmission. So now we're running a Dana 20 that doesn't leak and works, unlike the old, well, the old Dana 18 is actually sitting over there on the ground. That Dana 18 could not hold fluid in it. New seals, new bearings, everything, it still leaked. I got annoyed with it, kind of fed up dealing with it, so pitched her aside. So yeah, just some pretty fun little upgrades to this thing. While I had everything blown apart in there, I went ahead and put new synchros in the T90. So yeah, we've got new synchros in the T90, a Dana 20 transfer case, a Dana 44 limited slip rear end. I found a better front drive shaft for this thing. So we should have good functional four-wheel drive. And yeah, overall some great conversions and adapters and all kinds of shenanigans went on to get this thing to where we're at. But it should work pretty good, and I'm really excited to see how she does out in the snow. But we'll let this circulation tank go at it for a little while, warm this thing up, and then we'll catch up with you guys in, I don't know, about an hour. Alrighty, we got about another 15 more minutes going on this thing. You can see all the frost is thawed off of the engine, which is kind of cool. Kind of a visual representation that it's been warming up. I was going to find my little gas bottle and spritz this thing with some gas to get it to fire off, just because this carburetor evaporates the fuel out of the bowl pretty quick. But, well, I can't find my little gas bottle, so we'll just crank on her till that battery dies, and then we'll put another battery in there and crank on it until the other battery dies, and then I'll just be mad at everything. Oh. There's the oil. I like how you can always hear when the oil gets to the lifters on this thing. We'll let this thing warm up. I'll get the door open here and we'll get her out in the snow. Alrighty, we got the hubs locked. I'm pretty sure the transfer case is in four-wheel drive. If you guys didn't know, the Dana 20 has a different shift pattern than the Dana 18, and I don't exactly have it figured out yet, so I'll figure it out someday. Let me get the old camera set up out here. You can see we got a little more snow than last time. Poor old service binder hasn't moved in a hot minute. Well, obviously I have no idea how much of that was actually visible for you guys, but well, we made it like 10 feet. Not gonna lie, I kind of had higher hopes for the old girl, but yeah, I was kind of arrogant to back out here without the old tire chains. So yeah, I'm gonna go grab some jewelry and we'll throw it on here. I'll shut this thing off before it dies on its own, and yeah, we'll shovel her out a little bit, throw some tire chains on her, and then hopefully this thing will just eat through the snow. It's definitely not going to do that, but I can be hopeful. Alrighty, we got the tire chains on the rear. That only took longer than it should have. For those of you wondering why I didn't just go ahead and put the tire chains on while the Scout was still, you know, right there in the shop. Well, you see, I'm not exactly known for my critical thinking skills, and also I kind of just wanted to see how far we could make it into the snow before I ran out of traction. And the answer is not very far, because underneath this snow, we've got this nice layer of ice. So you can see right there is where the tires were sitting, and they just polished that up. But everything under here is just ice, because we had a nice rainstorm right after our first snowfall. So the whole, it's probably like 1.5 inches of ice down there, just ready to make these bias plies slip. So we'll see how far we'll make it with the rear chains. Worst case scenario, we have to put the front chains on it, and worst case scenario, this thing just sits outside until the snow melts. Well, nobody ever said I was a genius, you know. I do this kind of stuff and then I go, huh, I wonder why my clutches burn out on my Jeep and my Scout and every other thing. Let's see if we can't make it to the top of the little hill here. It's really not that much of a hill, but it's just enough with all this nice snow to really cause some trouble. Yeah, buddy, you want to put new synchros in your transmission and everything just so you can you know, turn around and beat the ever-loving tar out of it. God, this thing's awesome when it's working. Holy cow. Tire chains just kick ass. They're like, basically you treat them like paddle wheels. You keep your tire speed going and they just eat through everything. Those things will dig a hole to China if you ask them to. Well, there she is. We got her out of the woodworks here. Hopefully you guys were able to see some of that with this dark and whatnot. Believe it or not, it's only 5 o'clock at night. This is what I get off work every night and it's just pitch black out like this. It's a wonder I ever get anything done with this kind of darkness around. Well, the old Scout, she's back up and at her again. Let's drive this thing around the driveway a little bit and enjoy it some. You know, maybe someday I'll do something with the defrosters on this thing because I can't see a doggone thing out this windshield right now. There's some light. Well, folks, there's the old Scout. She's up and at her again. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this as much as I did. I highly doubt that you guys could have because it's dark out, and I'm sorry about that, but you know, she gets dark out really early these days. Man, this Scout just eats up some snow. That was a ton of fun. Well, I'm going to get this old girl parked. I hope you guys enjoyed the snow rally and the quick update on the old girl. That Dana 44 with the limited slip is definitely eating like it should, which is awesome. The transfer case seems to be working good. Everything on this Scout, well, I'm probably going to jinx myself, but everything on the Scout seems to be ship shape right now. So who knows, maybe next summer she'll get a little more time on the road than she has lately. But yeah, love this thing. Thank you guys for watching. We'll catch you guys on the next one.